Welcome back to the Exit Liquidity podcast with DeFi Daddy and DeFi Senpai.
What is going on, everyone? March 20th, 2025. Markets are down bad, but we're here recording a podcast, yapping, talking our shit, and maybe providing some alpha. So we'll jump right in. Market overview. What are your thoughts currently? Are we cooked? Are we so back? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel like we're going to trend sideways for a couple more months. Bitcoin is at 84K this morning. Ethereum's at 2K. It just dipped below 2K the past couple weeks for the first time since 2023. Solana down to 130. Bitcoin looks like it's in a drawdown, but altcoins look like they're straight up in a bear market.
I agree. I think if you look at it from like performance perspective, Bitcoin and crypto and on-chain stuff have like delineated into three categories. You have Bitcoin, like that's cool. It does its own thing. It's down to like 25% from the local highs until now. And if you look at altcoins, they're in a bear market, and on-chain has absolutely capitulated. It is so insane to see how many of these like AI projects in the Solana niche have drawn down 95% or more. And one thing I will say about ETH is it's actually at the same price that it was in 2021. So if you bought $1,000 worth of Ethereum in 2021, you still have $1,000 of Ethereum, and bonus, you have a severe mental illness.
Yeah, in that same time, like the S&P 500 is like outperformed at like 40 to 50%.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's just like a humiliation ritual.
Right? It's like sitting in the cuck chair, watching all the TradFi bros print just by buying the NASDAQ or the SPY, while the Ethereum investors are like, but the staking yield, the DeFi.
What's even more shocking is that XRP, our favorite coin to make fun of, is outperforming pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a pretty vocal dissonant of XRP. I don't believe the grandiose thesis. I don't believe in $10,000 a coin. I do believe it's vaporware dog shit, but the data doesn't lie. I mean, when you compare it to ETH and Solana, it is outperforming it by a pretty large margin. From the all-time high until now, XRP is only down about 25-30%, while ETH and Sol are down about 50 and 55%. So the numbers are clear. XRP is outperforming. Is that a sign that retail is still keen on buying it? Is it a sign that maybe somebody knows something we don't? I don't know, but what I will say is it makes me look really fucking stupid.
Well, they do call them XRP holders.
Yeah,
So,
community members.
Yeah, community members. It's not like they need to be like doing transactions or they're being judged on their TVL. It's just like they hold.
Yeah. And then for a while, the XRP FDV had flipped ETH's FDV.
Oh, I saw that.
And it was like, what? Because it still has to like 2x for it to flip ETH circulating. And then I pulled up DeFi Llama and I compared like the TVL of the two, and like ETH has whatever, like 40, 50 billion, something like that. And XRP hasn't crossed 1 billion yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're playing very different ball games here.
Yeah. There is an opportunity, if people are willing to build on XRP, it could be a gold mine.
Yeah, I think there's potential. I mean, there is infrastructure being built. Like First Ledger is pretty popular. It's a token deploying platform. They also have a Telegram trading interface that's pretty intuitive to use. There is, I think it's xrp.fun. It's like a pump fun alternative, but on the XRPL. Like there is infrastructure being built, but I think right now the primary problem is bringing assets into XRP. Because like you can't bring USDC, you can't bring USDT, you can't bring ETH.
I see. Do they have their own stablecoin there?
RLUSD.
Oh, right. Okay.
And there's meant to be a bridge to bring RLUSD into ETH, but it doesn't exist yet. So if you ever want to use the XRPL, you have to like do a bridge and a swap.
I see.
Because there are bridges that exist. For example, there's one called Cubic. And it's like, okay, I want to move from Sol to XRP, but it's not a bridge. It's a bridge and a swap, where there's like a solver, like some person on the other side that fills your order. I don't know. The infrastructure is just not quite there, I guess, to support the XRP TVL growth, because there's really not that much to do other than like trade super liquid shitters.
Yeah, and I know they don't have like smart contracts. They have these things called hooks, and I think it's just like a bit harder to develop on it.
Yeah, and I think one of the primary problems is like if you go to First Ledger and you scan through all the meme coins, like I saw it was the highest market cap meme coin on the XRPL. It had decent trading volume. It had $100 million market cap, but it had like, I think 250K in liquidity. Like just a complete, it's just such an illiquid ecosystem because you can't bring in those native stable coins.
Yeah.
And it's like everything's paired against XRP versus the meme coin. And like the valuations on this were crazy. I saw someone clip out like I think it was like 50 or 60K, and the chart immediately tanked by like 25%. I'm like, okay, like they're learning how the trenches really work. Good for them.
Yeah. They have had some wins though recently, like XRP as a community with like their SEC cases getting dismissed.
Yeah. I think there's one final ruling. I'm not up to date with this shit at all, I will be honest. But I think like Judge Torres still has to like give the final okay for it to be dismissed. But I do think the end is in sight. And I mean, overall, like, it is a win for crypto.
Oh, yeah.
XRP's been going to fucking war for the space.
Yes.
It is a win for crypto. And I'm biting my tongue as I say that. But I'm happy, man. Like, as long as people make money.
There have been a ton of cases that have been dismissed recently.
Yeah. If they're just throwing out case after case, like the SEC Coinbase got dismissed, the SEC Kraken got dismissed.
Dude, Pulse?
Yeah. I want to see Richard Hart taken off the Interpol list.
Yeah.
That'll be when the bull market starts. When the truth machine fires back up and we can start staking for like 20,000% if we lock
some of these cases
years.
are more egregious than others, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's crime is a gradient. There's crime, but not that much crime, and then there's like Richard Hart level crime. Just like autism, it's a gradient. One thing I will say about the XRPL and kind of like the context of the trenches is I keep my ear pretty close to the streets in terms of where the cabals are moving. And I mean, we know this, like Solana's dry, right? Insider allegation tradings at Jupiter, at Meteora, Libra, obviously pretty disheveled launch. And there's really not that much liquidity to extract in Solana, especially that it's given the fact that it's fallen from 295 to a current price of like 130 today. And what the streets are saying is the cabals are moving in on the XRPL.
No way.
And they're moving in on BNB.
All right.
Yeah, if you hop up on Twitter, you'll see a lot of people tweeting like hearing stuff about BNB. I think I found a runner on BNB. Anyone know how to trade memes on XRPL? Yeah. It's a very orchestrated, like, pre-marketing context setting where they're getting the mind share of those two chains up. Even just posting, like, daily volume on BNB. It's like, wow, there must be a lot of users here. Dude, it is, like, super orchestrated in terms of, like, who's posting, how it's being posted. And, of course, like, whatever they post will be, like, bundled dog shit.
Yeah.
It'll be, like, Brett, but on XRPL or BNB.
We're still trying to find our way into the cabal.
Yeah. Dude, they didn't reply to my application. One thing I will say is if I had to guess what's going to happen is it's probably Andy on BNB.
Okay. Oh, right? Yeah.
Because there's been Brett on base.
That one's already, like, in the hundreds of millions, right? Like,
yeah, but it's not the cabal one.
I see. They gonna launch another one?
I think so.
Okay.
Same thing. I mean, Landwolf on Solana existed before, like, the Landwolf on Solana. I mean, that thing's basically gone to fucking zero, but I don't know. These cabals have such, like, thick resources, and when you bundle 80% or more of the supply, it's like you have infinite money for marketing, you have infinite money for OTC deals, you have infinite money for exchange listings, whatever it is, like, they just extract and they use it to push it higher.
Yeah. Have you used dBridge Finance?
So, super clean.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
dBridge is awesome. If you want to like see where money is flowing, go to dBridge Finance. You can see all the flows between chains, which really shows you like which ecosystems are popping off. And I have seen a lot of money flow from Solana to BNB in particular.
Yeah. One thing that's also kind of interesting is how much inflow Sonic's been getting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's like a little bit hot and cold, but like some days like it is the only chain seeing substantial inflows.
Yeah.
And we're both Sonic bulls here. Like the tech feels amazing to use. Like it's super low latency. It honestly like the problem that Sonic has right now is that the user interface can't keep up. By the time you like confirm the transaction in MetaMask, the transaction's already completed, but like you don't get like that audio cue or the confirmation at the same time that the transaction's already complete.
It's true.
Like that 200 millisecond finality is a double-edged sword.
I mean, what I will say though is of all the EVM chains, it is by far my favorite. It's like just so quick, right? Like there's nothing more painful than sitting around waiting for like a couple minutes for your ETH transaction to confirm because you didn't put enough gas in.
Right. Or the other thing is, have you deposited Sonic to an exchange?
I have not yet. No. I've just been buying.
Yeah. What's really cool about it is, you know, when you deposit ETH, like you need usually like 1,600 confirmations, which can take like give or take 20 minutes. Yeah. Sonic is instant.
Really?
Because it's 200 millisecond finality.
Yeah.
So your transactions are instantly finalized.
Very cool.
Another altcoin that's kind of been taking a little bit of flack, HyperLiquid.
Yes.
They've been having some issues. Specifically with their liquidity vaults. Maybe a little bit of an exploit, kind of depends on how you imagine it, but
we can pull it up.
The price has been depreciating very rapidly. And from my understanding, there was a trader that had opened a position on Hyperliquid with perpetual futures. And basically, the principal problem is that they had a position, they withdrew their collateral, and then the Hyperliquid liquidity vault basically had to soak like what, a $4 or $5 million loss.
loss. Yeah.
And so it kind of showed like a weakness in the decentralized perpetual futures product, right?
Mhm.
Like we've seen this with GMGX, GMX, DYDX, other platforms like that offer decentralized futures. Because at the end of the day, like there's no way to make it perfect.
Mhm.
When you aggregate everyone's money into one central pool and you let people borrow against it, there's going to be problems eventually.
Yeah.
The other thing that has caught a lot of attention recently is Hyperliquid enabling Bitcoin as a spot collateral asset.
Mm.
The thing that's interesting that I think a lot of people don't know about this nuance here is like, let's say you load one Bitcoin into Hyperliquid and you use it as collateral. They actually sell your Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
They sell your Bitcoin and then they use your USDC as collateral. So they have no carry risk for the directional volatility of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know it, that you would actually incur a tax event there.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because it is a sale. And so when you're using your Bitcoin as collateral on Hyperliquid, your asset's actually being sold just to reduce the exposure of the Hyperliquid
I
ecosystem.
guarantee they're not thinking about that stuff.
No, definitely not. The other thing that's interesting is Hyperliquid only keeps your 5,000 most recent trades.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah,
there's
you like export it every couple months. I did read that somewhere.
Yeah, there's someone on Twitter that was like, well, I high frequency trade on Hyperliquid, and now I don't have any documents for all the trades I took. So what am I meant to do here? And everyone was like, I don't know.
What is interesting though is that like we do get every once in a while like a whale making a large bet, and since it's like all on chain, it's kind of like everyone's business. People are like, all right, why is this person betting 520 million like shorting Bitcoin at like 40x leverage? They got to know something. And we have had instances where people even like change their name to kind of hint at what the news might be. Like I think one of them was like they just changed it to like a certain date, and that date happened to be like the crypto summit, and so like they were pretending as if they had some insider information, and we're seeing that kind of grow as a trend, for better or for worse.
Yeah, that Hyperliquid positioning was particularly cool because, like, I mean, I think they only posted like $10 million as collateral. They leveraged it 40x. And then you saw these, I mean, for lack of a better word, retards on Twitter being like, yo, we're crowdfunding a stop loss hunt, 7-figure size only. We have 8 figures currently. Let's liquidate them. And like they actually did cause like a pretty big wick at the time. I think they got within like $300-$400 of the liquidation price. I've never seen that in the world of crypto because this is one of the largest on-chain positions that has ever happened.
Interesting.
It was really close. I think the benchmark is 580 million for their total asset size. But dude, leveraging like 10 mil, whatever it was, up 40x is absolutely crazy. They closed that trade in profit, and then they longed Melania.
Wow.
It was like, because you can view all of these through HyperScan, HYPURR scan. I don't know why their scanner is called that, but you can see like these massive whales swinging around crazy amounts of leverage. And like you said, it kind of becomes everyone's business, where it's like, yo, like we know what your liquidation is, we know what your entry is.
Yeah.
There is liquidity to take.
So when those like the band of whales kind of got together to try and like liquidate this guy, they got the price of Bitcoin up to like 84K. The guy's liquidation was like 85 something. But then he added an extra 5 mil in liquidity to make sure he didn't get liquidated.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic because like with centralized exchanges, you don't really get that. Like, you can pull up a liquidity zone heat map. You can see where people have liquidations, but you would never be able to see where one specific trader is going to get liquidated. And so the idea of decentralized leverage, I think, is super cool and super fascinating because it's like a very far extrapolation of what the crypto technology can be. But as we know, it's not a perfect system.
Yeah, so Zach XBT, who's like an on-chain sleuth, posted a lot on Twitter, identified the Hyperliquid whale as a UK fraudster named William Parker, who's been linked to a 1 million casino theft and past hacking scandals. So turns out wasn't really an insider, just someone kind of like degenning and probably laundering a bit of money. That's also been a big accusation for HyperLiquid. And what a lot of these people will do is they'll take both a long and a short position from two different accounts, and then whichever way the price of Bitcoin moves, you've basically like cleaned the other half eventually if you keep on doing this over and over again.
Assuming you don't there's not like a liquidation up and then a liquidation down. It's like I laundered all of my money by giving it to HyperLiquid.
Yeah. It's gone.
Yeah, and it's gone. Like the episode of South Park. I agree. Like I was in Dubai at the time that was happening, talking to some like really intelligent people, and I was like, "What do you guys think of this?" And everyone was operating on the assumption it was like some kind of not necessarily algorithmic, but some kind of like complex, like whether it's a delta neutral strategy and they're farming the other side of it on an exchange that we can't see, or some kind of basis trade. But it really does appear that it was just a naked short and like just slammed 40x.
Wow.
Drank a couple of beers and said, fuck it, let's party. Super impressive. But it's even more funny that it's a scammer. Like, dude, crime is a gradient. Start off scamming casinos and then evolve into fucking on-chain shorting $500 million.
Oh, there was a lot of speculation. Some people were like, "Oh, this is like Eric Trump or something like that."
Right? I mean, dude, he has to cover his losses somehow. His portfolio is down like 60% with World Liberty.
Yeah, he keeps on buying ETH.
Yeah. When will they learn? Another kind of not necessarily high profile but interesting story is Bubble Maps token, ticker BMT. Bubble Maps, obviously, I would say like a pretty main character in the space in terms of sleuthing, in terms of providing analytics for people to use to investigate meme coins and other projects. If you don't know, Bubble Maps basically shows you who owns the token, how the wallets are moving, and the flow of money. It's a useful tool.
Yeah.
But they launched their token BMT. They had their TGE, and ironically, they bundled it themselves.
Yeah. So when you use like the Bubble Maps software, which shows you the connection of all the wallets and the money flow, it's just one big circle, and like 90% of the supply is controlled by the team, which is extremely ironic.
And they tried defending it, and they're like, well, like, it's the vesting contract. And it's like, okay, if it's the vesting contract, then the math that should work out is you take the circulating, you divide it by the FDV, you times it by the number of tokens circulating, and that's how much should be in that wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the case at all.
No, it wasn't.
It was way higher than it should have been. And it was like, man, like, how fucking scammy can this industry get where an anti-scamming tool is deploying scamming technology? The other thing that's like, I don't know, man, like we see this happen all the time with crypto. It's like the governance illusion. And it's like, okay, if you hold BMT token, then you can vote and you can pick like on-chain crime for our team to investigate, and we'll use our on-chain sleuthing resources to like get to the bottom of it. It's like, man, like, is that really? I'd rather you just didn't have that.
Yeah. Governance has been like a long-term kind of like fake utility that they really came about during like, I'd say like last cycle, 2021, when it really got popular. And a certain instance that comes to mind is when Arbitrum first launched, and they did this vote whether to like burn the tokens or not, some of their excess tokens, and everyone voted like, yeah, burn the tokens, and the team went ahead and sold them. And
the team went ahead with like 1 second left in the vote. Like they like went in like one of the last blocks before the vote ended.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they like snuck it in super last second.
Oh.
On the same note, Crow did the same thing like 2 days ago.
No way.
Yeah, crypto.com. So
you're right.
There's actually some deep lore here. So back in like 2017, Crow was called Monaco, MCO. I think only OGs know this before the rebrand. And they had a 10 billion supply. And so there was a token like redemption rebrand. They moved from MCO to Crow, and the supply was greatly reduced. They wanted to make it like a higher unit bias. Okay, totally cool. Of course, they also gave themselves new vesting and typical. But now there was a vote, let's call it 2 days ago, where they wanted to increase the total supply from 1 billion to 10 billion, maybe 2 to 10, a drastic number. And the entire community was like, fuck no, like that was the previous MCO tokenomics. Why do we want to double back to that? And it was voted at like, let's say 75% no. And within the final seconds of the vote, the entire centralized exchange staking pools all jumped on the vote and said yes. completely changing the dynamics of the
Yeah,
vote to where
yeah.
it was now like 80% yes and 20% no.
Mhm.
And it's like that illusion of democracy that unfortunately, when you have those proof of stake systems
Yeah.
exist,
Yeah.
right? The power exists on who holds the equity.
Yeah.
There's a classic meme that circulated on Twitter where it's like a DAO proposal. What color should the founder's Lamborghini be? And then like the community all voted for red. And it was like 5 minutes later, yellow had 99%.
Dude, actually, two other instances also just came to mind. There was the one for Jupiter. That vote,
Oh my god, where they're paying people
paying
like
the devs
800K
like
a year or
yes,
something like
oh, like
that.
the lowest devs were gonna be making like 50,000 Jupe a month or something. It was
Yeah.
some ridiculous like schedule vesting schedule to like pay out all their early employees, but it was like a lot of employees. And
The
then
same
all
one's doing insider trading.
yeah. We're already dumping on you and bragging about like what a successful launch like Trump and Melania token were.
Ridiculous.
Oh, it's such a slap in the face. And then there was also Solana SMD 228. That was very recent.
Yes.
And that one started out, if you watch the voting, a lot of people were voting yes. And what this would have done was reduce the amount of inflation of the Solana ecosystem, which has, really big repercussions. It would go from like 8% down to like a dynamic schedule where if there's more Solana being staked, then the inflation is lower. If there's less Solana being staked, inflation is higher to promote people to stake. And I thought it was a pretty cool idea. Overall, the inflation schedule would be smaller, but then at the very last second, like people were either selling their votes or something. A bunch of people unstaked or like borrowed a bunch of Sol, and they managed to flip it from a yes to this proposal to a no.
Oh, because they could just take it out of like Camino or like Dex platforms,
Something like that, yeah.
take out the full borrow limit, and then use that as voting power.
Yeah.
That's actually super cool.
It was interesting.
It's cool, but like
yeah.
The other thing, because the same time that was happening, I was like the Jito printed like a 30% green candle out of nowhere, and I was like, well, what's going on here? So then I looked into the proposal because that would have affected like native staking yield for the network. But Jito's staking yield is that plus MEVing. Right? Jito's yield comes from MEVing like every single transaction on the network. So that's why Jito's token must have pumped because the network yield was going to be reduced, making Jito technology more valuable because Jito is going to add a revenue sharing mechanic where if you own Jito, you stake Jito, you get a portion of the MEV that's collected by the entire tech stack.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah.
So that now it makes sense that I have the full context. But dude, it's the illusion of governance.
Yeah.
Right? If you hold the token, you can vote. But unfortunately, centralized people probably hold a lot more than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The illusion of choice.
I think we should continue on the topic of Solana.
Pump Fund, major update coming. Pump Swap. So if you guys didn't know, the price of radium has been getting absolutely destroyed. And if you're wondering why, it's multifactorial, obviously, but Solana's marked down considerably. And their biggest customer, Pump.Fun, is releasing their own DEX. Or own liquidity pools, maybe is a more succinct way of putting it. But that takes huge business away from radium because obviously Pump Fund, bonds, liquidity goes to radium. But now it's going to be Pump Fund, bonds, liquidity stays with Pump Fund.
Yeah, the rate token's down 10% today. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, that makes sense, right? Like that was their cash cow. And they're going to lose a lot of liquidity that would get migrated normally from Pump Fund to Radium. Radium, however, have announced they're launching their own version of Pump Fund. I know.
Of course.
I mean,
for those only listening to the audio, that was the biggest eye roll of 2025.
they got to find some way to like try and keep their advantage in liquidity, which is pretty.
It's because they know their user interface sucks, and so like their primary value proposition was just like their liquidity pools, all algorithmically managed.
Yeah. And
so now that those are getting rug pulled by Pump Fund, they're like, "Fuck, we got to make the UX better, deploy all engineering resources."
Yeah. It's like they haven't done any innovation for like years, and now all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit!"
Oh fuck!
So that's gonna roll out next month. But yeah, that's gonna be an uphill battle.
The other thing that Pump Fund's been hinting at quite a bit on Twitter is a token. In replies, like they're not really posting about it on their main page, but they're replying to other tweets about a token. We all know Pump Fund is a cash cow. I think in 2024 they cleared $1 billion in revenue. I would imagine their profit margins are probably pretty close to $1 billion on that. Like, how high can their costs really
Yeah.
be? Like, their product hasn't really changed. Yeah, they made a mobile app. What else have they had to pay for? And so if they made, let's say, $1 billion in 2024, their early investors probably want to start considering getting the fuck out. And selling pump fund equity is probably super challenging. And so the way the early investors would get out would be a token. And so I think, obviously, I don't think we're going to see it imminently, but I think a pump fund token is going to happen in the near future because their early investors just want out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they pump fund have been one of the biggest net sellers though of Solana as well. All the Solana they're getting, they're just dumping into USDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Sol BTC chart?
No, I haven't.
It set its cycle high the day pump fund came out. Or maybe not the day, but like the week the pump fund came out was like the cycle high of Sol BTC. And then it chopped for like 8 months.
Yeah.
And now it's dropping out of its horizontal channel, which is probably part of the reason why it's getting absolutely wrecked relative to USD.
I see. Interesting. Not know that.
Another hot topic across the cryptocurrency ecosystem has been those pesky North fucking Koreans.
Yes.
Absolutely rinsed Bybit.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone knows largest exchange hack in crypto's history, about $1.5 billion. And it just makes me wonder, like, why do we even bother with this KYC shit?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if we're letting North
KYC.
Koreans get away with this on like a geopolitical scale, like, why do they need to see my ID?
That and those KYCs have been like the biggest source of like personal data breaches, because like these centralized exchanges are constantly leaking information, and North Korea just managed to launder 1.4 billion. It's like literally overnight. If they can't stop that, then it's like your $1,000, $10,000 transactions. Like, who cares?
Yeah. And the way they were laundering it was hilarious. They were launching pump funds. They were buying it on clean wallets, bidding it up on dirty, selling on clean to rugged. They were doing everything under the sun. But the part that really irked me was Thor or Rune.
Yeah, no, it's Thor.
The Sol to BTC bridge that facilitated, I think it was like $350 million of equity move from Sol to BTC. And they just like left the bridge open and farmed like $10 million in fees. And it was like, man, like... Y'all could probably blacklist some addresses here, maybe turn the app off for a bit, close the front end, like do something.
Yeah. They went all like cypherpunk, like code is law.
Yeah.
On everyone, like preaching their morals and stuff. And it's like, all right, guys, you're literally funding a nuclear arms program here.
Right after, like 2 weeks before, they were like being fudded for like being broke and like they were completely insolvent. Like,
actually, I did see that. It's like it was like an insolvent bridge. It was scary.
The timeline was haunting, but if North Korea used them, clearly they know something that we don't. Either way, it's just like, it just feels counterproductive to give up personal information when you see North Koreans getting away with it on that scale. On the same note, talking about selling personal information, Pi Network.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're like a top 20 coin. From my understanding, it's like a tap to earn.
Dude, I was getting shilled this in like 2017.
It's been on for a while.
And everyone I was like talking to was like, yo, you got to download this app. Like, it's sick. And I'm like, bro, like, this is just a scam. Like, there's never going to be a coin. But now it's a top 20 crypto and people got paid that were doing it for years and years and years. Like, there's a person in my Discord that cleared like 15K US.
Really? Oh, my goodness. Wow.
But the nuance.
Yeah.
If you want your tokens, you have to KYC.
Oh.
You can't just claim them willy-nilly.
Okay.
You have to KYC.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of allegations because Pi is a Chinese company.
Oh, yeah.
Take your data.
See.
Sell it on the darknet.
Huh.
And like that's where like the alchemy happens. So Bybit even made like an extensive long form article about how Pi was a scam and how they were working with, I think, Singaporean police about people being manipulated to give up their personal data.
Really? Okay.
But at the end of the day, like, dude, 15 racks is 15 racks. If that's US, that's like what, 100K CAD?
Yeah. Man, that's life-changing money for some people.
Right? Dude, legit, like the people that are in like high school or university that have had the app for maybe like 2 or 3 years, like, dude, you give a Canadian that's 20K in student debt, 15K US.
Yeah.
Bro, the debt's paid. They're going to go to Mexico as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's
they probably don't care that their IDs, like their driver's license is floating on the dark web.
Dude, it's already all out there anyways.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? It's just a matter of like, was your data stolen? Yes or no? Were you compensated? Yes or no? And in this instance, you actually get paid.
So maybe you can enlighten me. Like, what exactly is the Pi network, and who's buying this? Like, can you do anything on it?
So my understanding is it was just like an app you install on your phone,
Yeah.
and like that's it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's just like a data farm.
Yeah, yeah.
There may have been like a tap component to it. I never
Yeah.
installed it, bro. I was fighting it relentlessly
I did hear about like way
from
back.
like 2017
Yeah.
onwards when I started
Yeah.
my crypto social media journey.
I
I was
see.
like, anytime it was brought up, and I was like, data farm scam, move on. But
Yeah,
here I
that's one of those
am.
things where people are just commenting in your underneath all your videos, and you're just
Yeah.
like, fuck this, man. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It was people commenting on the videos being like, download the Pi network, and then it was their referral link.
yeah,
Because there was some kind of, I think,
yeah,
like upside down pyramid
yeah.
referral system, let's call it.
Do you remember when people weren't sure if like BitConnect was a scam or not?
BitConnect.
BitConnect.
What a time that was, bro.
Dude, that was peak crypto in hindsight.
Yeah.
They came with a music video. They had a conference. They brought people on stage. Oh,
Yeah. Dude, that was a unique time because that was when I was on Reddit
okay.
for like r/cryptocurrency. I didn't really
Yeah.
fuck with Twitter.
Okay.
And r/cryptocurrency were like giga BitConnect bulls. Like if you went on there, like peak bull run when Bitcoin was at like 20K,
Yeah.
like the top 10 posts were all about BitConnect.
Yeah.
And then when the rug got pulled, like the suicide hotline was at the top of the Reddit for like 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness. That's so
They
bad.
also loved Cryptopia.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember that New
Yeah.
Zealand-based exchange?
Yes.
Same thing when
That was like the only exchange it was listed on, right?
yeah,
It's like either you go to like that website or Cryptopia.
and when Cryptopia rugged, the r/cryptocurrency also had their when Cryptopia got hacked.
Yeah.
The suicide hotline was at the top of the Reddit for like a month.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, those were the days where unless you got listed on a major exchange, it was just like you're done.
The other thing that was interesting about that era is like Uniswap didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And it was before stablecoins were like
They're really popular, yeah.
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 Like ERC20 token standards did exist, but stablecoins like there's no reserves on exchanges or
Mhm.
anything. So every time you traded, it was always against Bitcoin or ETH.
Yeah.
Or obviously everything's measured in dollars now, but
Mm.
I think that's one thing that like crypto OGs have an edge in is like they know that you measure things in Bitcoin and ETH, and like that's a really useful market sentiment indicator.
Yeah.
Versus like the newer generation are all hyper focused on the USD value.
I see. Yeah, that was like a very interesting time, create like a very unique market dynamic, which I think we're seeing a bit now as well, just because people are buying these Bitcoin ETFs, and that money is staying in ETFs, and so you're seeing the Bitcoin dominance go up, and when Bitcoin's rallying, I mean, altcoins are going up a little bit, then Bitcoin's falling, and all the altcoins are falling harder. This is a lot different from last cycle where Bitcoin kind of skipped out and was all about the altcoins. That's where the real returns were.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this cycle is so fundamentally different, both in terms of how it's played out, but also in terms of like the economic backdrop.
Yeah.
Right? 2021 was like helicopter money, stay inside, play
Mhm.
video games for 12 hours, trade shitters on Pancake Swap. You were getting stimmies, you couldn't go outside, and now it's like, okay, everyone's poor, inflation is high, interest rates are high, the cabals have max extracted, nobody can afford anything.
Yeah.
It's just like a overall different context. But one thing I will say is like we kind of touched on it at the start of the session is I think we're probably due for like another like 6-8 month painful consolidation.
Mhm.
Similar to what happened from March to October 2024 when we were like stuck in that giga painful range.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we're due for another session like that.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think the major catalyst will be the shift from quantitative easing to quantitative tightening.
Mm.
Some argue that it's already in progress.
I mean, you mean the other way around.
Quantitative tightening to quantitative easing. Yeah, sorry. Some argue that it's already in progress. It's kind of like depends on how you measure it, really. But year over year, M2 money stock is increasing.
Mhm.
There was FOMC yesterday, March 19th. Jerome Powell said we're going to hold rates, but he was pretty dovish.
He was. Yeah. I mean, it was expected. He's always, I feel like he's always a little bit,
He had the purple tie on.
hawkish. But
Have you heard the tie theory?
no, I haven't heard the tie.
Yeah, the color of his tie will determine the tone of his speech. And he had a purple
Okay,
tie on,
okay.
which is historically a dovish speech following.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, compared to like Janet Yellen, I feel like I've never heard him do a dovish speech, but for his standards, That was dovish.
Yeah, it was dovish. There's a couple of key points. Number one being that the Federal Reserve is not going to react to tariffs. Because tariffs can go away just as fast as they came. They will react to the data produced by the tariffs, which I think is bullish because it kind of sets the tone.
Yeah.
This is really the first FOMC since the tariffs began, or the trade war, let's call it.
Yeah.
We got big beef with our people down south right now.
Yeah, and they blame us for it too. It's
ridiculous. And then the other part of it is that they're reducing the balance sheet runoff from 25 billion per month to 5 billion per month. Starting in April. For reference, I would say probably a year ago, that was at about 120 billion a month.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when that number flips positive, that will be kind of another indicator for some people that QE is starting.
For sure.
So there's probably a formal definition out there, but I think everyone kind of has their own mental model of what it looks like. For me, we're already in QE. Money supply is increasing. To me, that's like a pretty linear outlook. But I think that transition from hard money to easy money is going to be what fuels like the next leg of the bull run. I mean, we have a pro-crypto president. Long dated bond yields are falling. Gold's at all-time high. Regulation is coming. Countries are buying. Companies are buying. I think I'll openly admit, like, I think personally, I just got the timing wrong. I think things are just going to take longer than intended, which is fine. But I think it just means the 4-year cycle theory is cooked.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think it's just a new economy.
Yeah.
I think like
new dynamic.
Exactly. Like I think we've evolved past like the dependency on Bitcoin for 4-year cycle swings. I still believe that Bitcoin and crypto are like very
two separate things.
Yeah, completely different ideas. I mean, even like I would say Bitcoin's still in the bull market, while alts are like definitely not.
Yeah,
by and large.
I totally agree with that.
And so I think like that mental model of 4-year cycle is probably done, just based off like monetary dynamics.
So we're like a 20% move down from all-time highs, which is very normal for the Bitcoin bull run, and we could absolutely, go back to all-time highs again. I said this in one of my videos, like years ago, is that Max Payne isn't, crypto Bitcoin hitting 12K. It's Bitcoin hitting all-time highs and altcoins getting crushed.
Right. And I mean, like there's a very like easy way to summarize it. It's like, okay, Bitcoin dominance. You talked about it. There's different contexts where it goes up. Number one, Bitcoin runs away, right? It's just relentless strength. Like we saw from the rally from like 72K up to 108.
Yeah.
Bitcoin dominance went crazy. There's the environment where Bitcoin sideways and alts get nuked, right? Because the market cap of Bitcoin will grow proportional to alts. And the third is Bitcoin falls a little, alts fall even further.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's still like proportionally gaining. And so Bitcoin dominance, I don't know what it's at this second. It's probably around like 61, 62%. I think it's still probably got more room to go up.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it'll have to lead the next leg up anyways. And so I think you'll see Bitcoin dominance when, it does hit 100K again, hopefully before the end of the year. Then you'll see that dominance increase as well. Yeah.
I agree, because I don't think is a reality where Bitcoin is not the market leader for whatever recovery we get.
Okay, one thing I will say, Ethereum, I have to show my bags. Yeah, there was a couple ETFs that just applied to get like staking in the Ethereum ETFs. I know. Okay, he's rolling his eyes.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. To me, if it happens, really? It guarantees it's a security.
Oh, I see.
Right? You're investing not in the Ethereum token. You're investing in the network, expecting a passive profit. It could very well get approved, but unless they like sweep like ETHgate under the rug,
I see.
I think it's undoubtable that ETH remains not a security in that context.
Yeah. And also like during this massive pullback where ETH did go below 2K, like there was a big accumulation in ETH whales.
Yeah.
But that might be something else.
Yeah, they were snapping it up like below like 1800. Super aggressive buying.
Yeah. But
I don't know. At the end of the day, like,
who knows?
What's really going on with ETH? They did announce the next update coming to Ethereum mainnet. I forget what it's called, but Vitalik decided to bless us with his presence on Twitter and finally posted something.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like we said before, Solana experiencing a little bit of an identity crisis with just the amount of scams at the very highest level. And so you are seeing a little bit of money flow back to EVM chains, and Ethereum is benefiting from that.
Which I think, honestly, is good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Solana, I love it. It's great tech.
It's fun to use.
I think this idea of it being out of vogue for a while is probably good.
Yeah.
I think we need a breather because, like, part of the reason why Solana was so popular is because it was so fucking good for scamming. Like, you can't get away with the stuff you're doing on Solana on other chains. Not to the same extent. So, for example, there was a new bundler that I saw on GitHub where you can get 98% of a pump fund supply.
Nice.
It's public.
Wow.
Open source. You can go get it on GitHub. 98% of a pump fund supply, and then it mixes it so it's not detectable on bubble maps.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? Rust is the language of criminals, I guess. But at the end of the day, like, a rotation toward EVM chains, I think, is kind of based. Whether it's BNB, whether it's Sonic. I'm not even going to say the word avalanche. But I do think that is like a good rotation. I ship it. I like it.
I think, is that a good place to call today?
Yeah.
All right. That was it for episode 5?
I think.
Episode 5.
We did record an episode 5, but we mutually agreed it was trash, so we ran it back. It got accidentally deleted.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Peace.